everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is a recap video on my recent trip to Honolulu, Oahu in Hawaii. The next day I woke up and actually saw the sunrise because Hawaii is actually 3 hours behind Pacific time, which is where Los Angeles is. And so I was able to catch many sunrises and just see the rays peek through the buildings. After getting up and getting ready, I was able to go to Heavenly Cafe where there were really good reviews on their Benedicts and their version of Loco Moco. And then it was time to go to the Iolani Palace. If you guys are in Hawaii, I highly encourage you to not only just do the touristy beach things, but actually immerse yourself in their culture. The first time I came to Oahu, I did just that. I was relaxing by the beach. It was a very superficial type of vacation where I didn't have to worry about anything. I dedicated time to just being in nature and relaxed when I wasn't playing. This time I wanted to actually go around the entire island and see what it really meant to be Hawaiian. The first place of education was the Iolani Palace. As gorgeous as the space is, you actually get to see a really sad side of how the Hawaiian monarchy ended. I'm not going to detail too much of the history here, but I do want to say that like a lot of colonized countries, such as the Philippines, which is where my mother's side is from, as well as the United States of America, where native tribes originated, we must make the conscious effort to just shed that ignorance and to really understand where all of these people who were indigenous to the lands came from and how their culture has been shifted into fusing or being overtaken by colonizers or those who have tried to overthrow what was already built in the foundation of the country and of the people. The monarchy had both men and women who took care of their people and were loved by those people because of that. One of the kings explored the world and was able to bring back electricity as well as modern technology for that time, such as irrigation and indoor plumbing, electricity, and even telephones. Fashion was inspired by British culture, but there were flares of Hawaii's own tastes and essence, such as these peacock feathers on this gown. Although a lot of the influences came from the Western world and Europe, Hawaii never forgot their origins. Unfortunately, when the Westerners did overthrow the monarchy, the Hawaiian language and culture suffered greatly, and diseases wiped out most of the people. This is why I believe that it is important to, as a visitor, really understand not just how the land came to be, but also how the people came to be, their evolution from the past to the present, and how it looks moving forward into the future. A lot of these rooms were beautifully designed, not too overpowering with material objects, but just enough to fill out all the spaces and really showcase what kinds of people ruled the land. There were artists who composed songs. There were brilliant diplomats who studied and made sure that they understood where the world was going and what other countries did. Although some of the names of the kings and queens were Western, they also remembered to keep a little bit of their Hawaiian selves by creating dual names that represented each side. The palace is actually 3 floors, 2 of which are above ground where you enter on street level, take a staircase going up on one side of the rail and coming down on the other, and then heading back outside and down into the basement where there was kind of like a war room, all the crown jewels, the kitchen, and furniture pieces that were actually recognized not too long ago by those who had been to the Iolani Palace and saw that the chairs were the same, even though they were stripped of their gold leaf and their fancy brocade upholstery. After the Iolani Palace, it was time to drive all the way to the other side of the island where I have never been before. Kualoa Ranch is a huge property that was gifted to a Western advisor that became very good friends with one of the kings of Hawaii. He was actually also a doctor who helped the Hawaiian people during rough times. Since then, his family has created a tourist attraction that features many things such as behind the scenes for movie sets, horseback riding, ATVing, catamaran sailing, and much more. Since I arrived very early in order to check in, I was able to eat a quick lunch with a Kahlua pork sandwich while watching birds run around the property freely. Check out the scale of these mountains. It's so unreal. It looked like a painting or CGI, and I was actually in a movie. I was able to pass by the stables as well as a little museum to talk about the background of the ranch. Here's King Kamehameha, who is the first king of Hawaii, as well as a very detailed model of the valley. It's really cool that they also have a Kualoa Ranch market where all of the agriculture that they have on the property, including the cows, get turned into profitable meat that they sell at this market. All of the fruits and jams and oysters, shrimp can be found in this market and are collected weekly. Check out these big tortoises, a petting area for other animals. There were so many movies and TV shows and even music videos that were filmed on this ranch that I would have never have guessed or have never seen before. And so just looking at the sheer amount of actors and stills from all of these visual pieces really gave a good impact. I had something planned at the Kualoa Ranch 3 days in a row. Today I was going to go on an ocean voyage on a catamaran. It was a 90-minute trip out and back from the secret island that was purchased also by the ranch, which hosts a brackish water pond. We saw some jellyfish and kind of got a tour of the fruits, the nuts, coconuts, and of course, all types of fish. Took a ferry over to the other side of the island where we walked on the beach and then got onto the actual catamaran. The sausage puppy was ready to go with his life vest on. How cute is that? We saw about 4 turtles while we were out there after we passed a couple islands, and it was just a really fun, relaxing ride under the Hawaiian sun. Look at how crazy, big, and sharp and dangerous these creatures look. I swear the more tropical you get, the more aggressive the wildlife gets as well, because survival of the fittest. Next stop was the Bishop Museum. Upon arriving, I also had to use a restroom, so the closest one was located in the planetarium. Unfortunately, it was not open to the public. However, check out this cool holographic space poster. This first building, where it looks like a castle, is where all of that kind of history is, all the way until Pearl Harbor. The first thing I saw was this really grand staircase that kind of reminded me of the one in the Iolani Palace. But the first room actually surprised me, and it was dedicated to just these feather staffs. This is really symbolic for the royalty and chiefs of Polynesian cultures, and it's made out of real feathers from different types of birds. They make this nice egg-shaped plumage at the top, and the staff is made out of a special tree carving that is dressed in ribbons and different colors, designed towards the monarch or the chief that they had in mind. What I knew about the Bishop Museum was that there was a lot of Polynesian culture, such as the origins of Polynesian people. They used to be wayfinders and navigators on the seas and would build their own boats to do rites of passage and sail across or voyage together to go find new islands. If you've seen the Disney movie Moana, kind of like that. However, over time, throughout the reigns of the monarchy and with new technologies being introduced to the islands through Westerners, influences started to change and modernize the people. The interior is made out of wood and glass, housing all of these precious artifacts, and it looks like a natural history museum. There were 3 floors, and each floor went in depth with clothing, tools, cultural rituals, hunting supplies and gear, textiles, all the way to modern art. How cool is this weapon-looking like thing made out of shells? I don't think I could play with this one because I would probably break skin, but it's very innovative nonetheless. The next part of the museum was actually modern art. And I was a little skeptical because I am very particular about contemporary and modern art, and I was very, very surprised. This car should have already given me a little bit of a hint as to what I would find inside, but I don't even know how they got some of this stuff in here, like cars and built in a New York scene setting. It's so crazy. Look at how many artists that they have collected in this space. The space wasn't that small, but still they were able to condense it with sculptures, paintings, people that I've actually met, such as this guy who created Tokidoki, the brand, as well as Audrey Kawasaki and Shepard Fairey, and so much more. Many more local artists that I actually get to see later on in the Arts District the next day. It was so overwhelming in the best way possible, and these murals and paintings were huge, literally from floor to ceiling. They even made a bathroom area that was full of graffiti. After this, it was time to go to the last building. That's right, there was one more building to go to at the Bishop Museum, and that was the Science Hall. This was actually the best order that we could have possibly gone through because I needed something to kind of tone me down back and grab me back into reality. So this was kind of the perfect place to do that. They had this giant volcano exhibition where you can push buttons to release gases or cause eruptions. And one of my favorite parts was this black light hallway full of marine creatures and sea animals, and it was really interactive, which I really like. It's kind of like an exploratorium for kids of all ages and adults. I wasn't done with just one museum. No, the fourth event that I had planned for this day was the HOMA, the Honolulu Museum of Art. You would think that from the title that this would also be very Hawaiian oriented, and it is, but in a different way than you probably think. There was a lot of Asian art, from China to Japan and Korea, even the Philippines, and some Indian pieces. These were all from the ancient worlds and the first floor of the space. Outside, there were a culmination of collages using different mediums such as mosaic, yarn, and different themed gardens with fountains and stages for summertime music. On the second floor, that's where the Hawaiian art really started to showcase. I thought that it would be a lot of stuff kind of like the Polynesian cultural aspects of the Bishop Museum, but it's actually Hawaii's modern art. And there's a big homeless and unemployment problem in the state of Hawaii, and the art that was present showed how to start the journey of solving these current issues. There was also a lot of gender identity and art pieces that gave space to female bodies and those who have unfortunately been abused in the past. But this was a positive way that people could anonymously write what had happened to them, if they healed, how they healed, and each candle was lit for the first 1,000 that had shared their stories. Hawaiian waters from all over the state were recorded and put onto a projection over the flag. Here's a domination vase that I found to be really in theme with me being in the museum. There were paintings that expressed anguish, that expressed joy, that were simply objective portraits but through the eyes of different artists. Classical paintings that were from certain renaissances over the eras of art around the world. By the time I got outside, it was nighttime and the moon had risen and my feet were literally dead tired.